we join Ash and Kukui after finishing a meal for the evening. Ash has spent the whole time staring at the Pokeball of his newly caught Beedrill, while Litten lays happily in Ash's lap, purring away. Kukui, able to see his students' excitement about his new capture, asks if the boy is ready to get to know his new teammate. The Pallet Town native quickly stands to his feet, dropping Litten, causing the trainer to apologise. The cat simply just scratches at Ash's leg, causing the boy to wince in pain before Litten jumps up to Ash's shoulder, getting comfortable. As Ash and Kukui move away from the campfire, having moved a few feet away, Kukui tells Ash that Beedrill might be aggressive when it's summoned out. However, the boy should remain calm and talk to Beedrill while also offering it food, as it will help calm the creature and it probably will be hungry. Ash is unsure about this and is not really sure how this will help, but is willing to at least give it a go. So, puts his faith in his mentor, grabbing the food Kukui gives him before summoning out Beedrill. Litten and Kukui are both on guard to defend Ash, as the bug type comes out with the fury of 1,000 primates. The Pokemon scans around, looking for its captor, soon finding Ash. It charges up and starts rushing towards Ash, flying towards him at great speed. However, the trainer, being nervous but trusting his mentor, shouts out asking if Beedrill wants some food as he extends his hand with some bug-type special food in his hand. Beedrill gets inches away from Ash before stopping and sniffing at the food a little bit, before eventually putting its head in and eating up the food. Ash lets out a breath of relief as Kukui moves his hand away from his Pokeball. Beedrill quickly scoffs down the food and it lets out a happy cry before noting Ash staring at him. Getting slightly flustered, the recently captured Pokemon turns its back to Ash, trying to give up a cool act, crossing its stingers and turning away from the boy, confusing the trainer heavily, however getting Kukui to laugh quite loudly as he says that this Beedrill doesn't seem half as scary as it was a few minutes ago. This causes Beedrill to lose its balance in the air a little bit, falling a few inches before collecting itself. Ash finds this weird but welcomes Beedrill to his team, telling the bug type that they are going to be the best of friends and sharing his goal to become the Pokemon Master. Beedrill turns its head ever so slightly and gives a small nod of acknowledgement. Kukui, seeing that Beedrill will clearly work alongside Ash, decides that they need to get some training in for the night. So he calls Ash over, telling the boy to bring his team with him. Ash turns to Litten on his shoulder, who is currently scratching at his own tail, and looks back to Beedrill, who's still looking away from him, as Ash tells both his Pokemon they're going to get some training in, so to follow him. Litten, not leaving Ash's shoulders, stays there, getting ready to fight, as Beedrill follows behind a few feet, but never making direct eye contact with Ash. Once everyone is in position, Kukui laughs, looking at Beedrill, who's still staying a few feet away from Ash, clearly trying to act tough. However, he doesn't have too much time to think about it, and it finds it a bit endearing, really, as he soon tells Ash that they will be doing a different type of training. Since the boy is going up against Rock type, with two Pokemon weak to that type, he's going to need some help. So Kukui's devised a plan he thinks will work. He tells Ash that he's going to help his Pokemon increase their physical power to make sure even though he has no super effective attacks for the defensive rock types, his Pokemon dish out some decent damage even with their non-super effective moves. Soon calling out his own Incineroar, the powerful cat shows up with a mighty roar, grabbing the attention of Beedrill and Litten. Both are amazed at the power this Pokemon emits, as soon Kukui asks his partner Pokemon to use Cross Chop on the ground. The Pokemon nods as it slashes an X into the ground, causing a large area around them to start erupting upwards, splitting out rocks, boulders and stone all around them. Kukui thanks his partner Pokemon, recalling it, telling them they'll get some training in later, while Ash and his two Pokemon stand complete and utterly shocked that a fire type could use a fighting type move with so much power. Litten sees its parent and wants to be able to do stuff just like that, while Beedrill finds itself slightly in shock, while also being completely intimidated. The Pokemon's natural instincts tell it to back away, however its pride stops it from wanting to do so, not wanting to show fear in front of its new trainer, thinking how embarrassing that would be. With both Pokemon on standby, Ash and his team spend the next few hours stabbing and scratching away at rocks. Beedrill, being fully evolved and seemingly high level, its natural strength allows it to perform pretty well at this task, causing Ash to praise the Pokemon, who just nods in agreement at Ash's praise, before continuing to jab at the rocks. As for Litten, the small cat's size and low power causes it to have a few problems with the training. However, it continues to scratch away while posing after each and every strike, something Ash once again tries to get it out of the habit of doing. However, during one of these poses, Ash can't help but be captivated by it in a little bit. The way Litten moves and the way it poses after every strike, it's interesting. Something about it is captivating Ash. But before he can think too much of it, he snaps back to the current moment, going back to cheering on his team while trying to course correct Litten a little. The training continues for a while longer before both Beedrill and Litten are worn out quite a lot, and truly, Ash, seeing this, wants to call it a night, walking towards his Pokemon, telling them how they both did a great job, and giving Litten a stroke on the back while placing his hand on Beedrill's shoulder, causing the bug type to pull away. However, the yellow bug's face goes a little red in the cheeks after getting so much praise. As Ash laughs at this, Kukui decides they should call it a night and not bother travelling any further since Ash's Pokemon is completely beat. So they set up camp, getting ready to eat and rest for the night. With Beedrill and Litten getting their own food, Ash and Kukui start sitting down to cook their own. While cooking it, Ash asks why Kukui doesn't let his own Pokemon out to feed. Kukui tells Ash that he plans to let them out a bit later on. He plans to get a bit of training in later on in the night. However, for now he wants to make sure everything with Ash is alright. After all, he's still a new trainer. Hearing this, Ash pouts his face a little bit in annoyance. However, this is just met from a laugh from Kukui as Ash starts arguing with the man how he's getting better and he's more experienced than he used to be. Of course, Kukui doesn't mind this and finds it quite fun. After laughing it off, the two start talking to one another. Kukui shares stories of his old adventures in other regions, as Ash learns of a story Kukui had with a blonde-haired woman from a region called Sinnoh. She had a powerful Garchomp, which is the pseudo-legendary of that region. And just as things were picking up, Kukui tells Ash he should call it a night, noticing the time. Ash is annoyed and wants to hear how the rest of the battle went, but Kukui reminds Ash that he's got a long day ahead of him tomorrow and more training to do, so the best thing to do is sleep and sharpen his mind. He'll always share that story another day. Getting Kukui's word on it, Ash recalls Beedrill and Litten and him head into their tent, where the young trainer gets some sleep while Litten sleeps on his chest. With Ash knocked out completely, Kukui heads off to get some training in with his team and feeding them as well. As the night comes around, the next day rolls around very fast. As the pair start walking into Viridian Forest, they start spending their time talking amongst one another, which is when they run into Samurai like normal. The man has battled the other Pallet Town trainers, so he is itching for a final fight. However, seeing Kukui, the boy is slightly starstruck. Learning that Ash is the student of a man worthy to take on the champion, Samurai sees this as a great chance to prove himself as a competent trainer to a champion level student. Kukui, on the other hand, sees this as a great chance to see how Ash has grown and how he will perform in a real battle, so he encourages the boys to battle. In fact, he will referee, announcing that the battle will be a one-on-one, telling the boys he'll announce the winner when he feels like they have been decided, making sure that no one's Pokemon are knocked out, and also ensuring Samurai that he will not be picking favourites even though Ash is a student. This helps comfort the bug catcher a little bit, and eventually they both agree to battle. Samurai, having thrown down the gauntlet, calls out his Pokemon first, a Pinsir, while Ash calls out his own bug type in Beedrill. The Pokemon comes out buzzing around for a second before turning to see Ash and its opponent. Beedrill soon gets ready to battle. As the two bug types stare one another down, Pinsir gives a scary glare, causing Beedrill to become slightly nervous. However, when the battle begins, Ash is quick to call for an X-Scissor, and straight away Beedrill, not wanting to look a coward, flies forward, slashing straight across Pinsir's body, knocking the other bug type back a few feet, dealing some serious damage, shocking Samurai, Ash, and even Kukui a small bit. However, the professor had guessed that the rock smashing training would help strengthen Ash's physical power. He just didn't expect the results of this to be so grand. However, he could put this up to Ash's Beedrill being relatively strong. Samurai, having recomposed himself, decides to get his own licks in, calling out for a Vice Grip, with the slow-moving bug type racing forward, but Ash just calls for Beedrill to challenge the bug with a Fury attack. The bug Pokemon quickly spins round and flies straight towards Pinsir, both Pokemon on a crash course towards one another. However, Beedrill is the first one to land a hit, slamming its stinger into Pinsir's body 3 times, before knocking the bug-type Pokemon back a couple more feet and bringing it down to one knee. Samurai goes to call for another move, however at this point Kukui feels like he has seen enough and already knows how this battle will be going, calling for the battle to end. Samurai is shocked and kind of caught off guard, while Ash is amazed at Beedrill's power, rushing over and praising the bug very highly. The Pokemon acts all confident, nodding with Ash's praise, while Samurai helps Pinsir get up, amazed at Ash's power, being the strongest trainer he had fought yet. But he can't help but feel that this matchup was never really fair. After all, Ash is the student of a champion level trainer. This makes Samurai slightly angry, and he begins to bubble over with anger, before looking up and seeing Ash getting praised by Kukui, the two smiling away happily, and Samurai soon loses that anger he was feeling. He realises now that Ash must have got Kukui's approval somehow. He must have been a competent trainer before. Maybe they're friends, he doesn't know. But what he does realise is that if he ever wants to make the next step in power and reach the same level that Ash is currently at, no, beyond what Ash is currently at, he needs a teacher. He thinks about asking Kukui, but realises that the man has got his hands full with getting ready to take on the champion of the region and training up Ash, and clearly it wouldn't work out that way. So Samurai decides he will find himself a mentor who will work with him, maybe someone who specialises in bug types. As Ash approaches Samurai, extending a hand to shake, with the bug type trainer shaking it back, telling Ash that they will battle again one day. Ash agrees as Kukui and Ash start to leave, wishing Samurai all the best, while the bug type trainer starts to wonder who in the world would be a good mentor for him. Maybe a strong bug type master is out there. Maybe he just needs to search, or maybe one will come to him. We follow along with Ash and Kukui as the pair start spending their time travelling and training through the forest. Kukui puts Ash through the same rock type breaking training every night, with his two Pokemon getting more and more used to it, clearly showing signs of growth with their physical strength. And thanks to all this rock smashing training, it actually helps Beedrill learn a new move which will be very useful going forward for Ash, and this leads to him brainstorming an idea and a strategy for the next gym. This could help him win against the upcoming gym leader. Soon enough, the duo arrive in the city of Pewter. Upon arriving, they run into Flint wearing a disguise. However, neither of them having knowledge of who this man is, it's a short interaction before the two head off into the city. Kukui wanting to head towards the Pokemon Center first, while Ash is insisting on heading straight towards the gym. However, Kukui reminds Ash calmly that he should get his Pokemon checked out before heading to the gym. After all, they have been travelling for a few days now, and his Pokemon have gone through a lot of hard work to get to this point, so they at least deserve to get checked out and maybe get a decent meal. Ash wants to argue, but realises he's getting ahead of himself, as he agrees to go alongside with Kukui. As they both walk towards the Pokemon Center, once arriving in the building, Kukui finds himself being stared at by a few younger trainers, and even some of the adults in the building. Ash gets confused glares off people. As the pair hear murmuring all around them, they laugh awkwardly before handing their Pokemon over to Nurse Joy, confused at why everyone's staring at them. But it doesn't take long for people to start approaching Kukui, taking photos, speaking to him and interviewing him, getting autographs, photos alongside him, anything they can. Ash is watching this for a few seconds, wondering if he should step in or just stay out of the spotlight, before he hears Nurse Joy call him over. The boy walks over to Nurse Joy and learns that both Beedrill and Litten are fine, happy and healthy, and everything is okay. Seeing his mentor is busy and realising he won't get a chance to grab some Glorb for a little bit, he decides to take this chance to get some last minute training in, heading out round back of the Pokemon Center where we see Ash put Litten and Beedrill through a mini battle against one another. This battle goes on for about an hour before Kukui finally shows his face. The professor apologises but didn't realise he would be recognised so fast, and also didn't realise he was so popular, letting out a bit of a hearty laugh. Ash tells Kukui he's stupid for thinking he wouldn't be popular. After all, he's a champion level trainer, and that's obviously going to be interesting for everyone. Plus, he's got a battle coming up against the Elite Four's champion soon. So, he should probably be expecting this stuff. Kukui realises it might have been a bit optimistic to try and make this journey without being recognised, but, he tried his best, letting out a bit of a laugh, which Ash follows alongside doing. After a few seconds of laughing, Ash asks if they're able to go to the gym now. He's so desperate to get this battle done. He's really excited for it. And Kukui is about to argue, but looks towards Ash's team. Both Beedrill, Litten, and a young boy look ready. Kukui agrees, saying that he did want to eat first, but he supposes if Ash and his team are so confident and ready, he shouldn't stop their momentum, telling them that they'll do great in this upcoming gym battle. Ash, hearing he's allowed to go, lets out a hearty cheer as he turns to both of his team members, telling them that they're going to ace their first gym battle, no sweat. Both Pokemon give off an excited roar as Beedrill is recalled and Litten jumps up to its favourite shoulder. The two take a few minutes to walk across town, Kukui giving Ash some last minute advice, making sure he remembers type matchups and moves to avoid. Ash is able to answer most questions without much effort. He gets stumped on the type matchups still a little bit. However, after a few days of travelling with Kukui, he's now pretty much got it mastered, knowing that he needs to be really careful of any rock type moves that comes towards him, since both of his Pokemon are heavily weak to it. And once arriving outside the gym, Ash starts making his way towards the door, but Kukui doesn't. Ash is confused, turning around to see his mentor stood a little bit away from the door. Ash is confused at why Kukui isn't following him, as Kukui apologises, saying to Ash that he actually won't be able to catch this first gym battle. As much as all of Kukui would love to go in and sit and watch Ash do this first gym battle and watch him perform amazingly, like he knows he will. However, he won't be able to watch the gym fight because he has some important business to deal with, and he's only got a small time period to make a call that he really needs to make. Alongside this, it will be a great bit of practice for Ash to get ready to train and battle things on his own, since he himself is going to have to leave soon to head out and do some very intense training to make sure that when he goes to battle the champion, he can win. Ash realises that makes a lot of sense, but wonders what business Kukui has to deal with. As Kukui wishes Ash all the best luck and apologises once more, he tells him he knows he can win, and remember everything they've done in their training. The boy thanks his mentor before they part ways. Kukui shouts out to Ash that he will meet him in the Pokemon Center in a few hours before Kukui starts walking off. Ash is confused and kind of nervous to make this first gym battle alone, but he swallows his fear and starts to head into the door. As he goes to open it, once again he's stopped as a blonde-haired boy walks out wearing a black hoodie. The pair stare at one another, having blocked each other's entrance and exit for a few seconds before Ash realises what he's doing. Apologising, he moves out of the way, telling the boy to go by. Ash gestures for him to walk by, and the blonde-haired boy does so, nodding his head towards Ash as if saying thank you. And as he starts to take his leave, a boy a bit older than Ash walks out, shouting out thanks for the good battle before turning his head to see Ash, asking who he is. Ash, still slightly caught off guard, recollects himself and introduces himself as Ash Ketchum, and he's here for a gym battle. The man laughs, saying it's been a busy day, as he introduces himself as Brock, telling Ash of course he can have a gym battle, asking how many badges and Pokemon the boy has, causing Ash to respond with how he only has 2 Pokemon and 0 badges. Brock, hearing this, nods his head, gesturing for Ash to follow him. As the pair start walking into the building, Brock starts to talk to Ash. He begins to apologise, explaining that his team has actually just recently had quite an intense battle, so the team he would normally use against a trainer like Ash is currently out of commission. Ash hangs his head a little low, but Brock tells Ash that he's actually got some other Pokemon he can use. However, they are much stronger than his normal Pokemon, which he would use for a trainer on Ash's level. So Ash can choose to wait for his normal team to be back in fighting shape, or he can just fight one of Brock's stronger mons. Ash, being impatient and fairly confident thanks to his teacher being a champion level fighter, tells Brock that he will fight a stronger mon. Hearing Ash agree to these terms, Brock tells Ash that it will be a very difficult battle. He promises he won't go too hard on Ash, since the Pokemon he plans on using is quite a high level. However, Ash tells him not to hold back. He wants to have a true all-out gym battle for his first gym badge. He doesn't want anything holding back. Brock's kind of impressed to hear this from him, wondering where the boy got all this confidence from, as he tells Ash if that's the case, he'll only use one Pokemon, and Ash is allowed to use both of his, while being allowed to swap between both of his mon as he pleases. Ash, hearing this, nods his head, as the two start to take separate sides of the battlefield, which Ash can see is pretty damaged. Brock apologises, saying that the trainer who just was in here before him had a really strong Pokemon, and he didn't know how to fight it, so he had to go all out against it, meaning the battlefield has been a bit damaged. However, he'll get it fixed as soon as he can, if Ash is alright fighting on it. The boy shouts aloud, saying yeah, that's fine, wondering if that strong trainer was the blonde-haired boy who was literally leaving as he showed up. But soon the battle is about to begin, as Brock calls out his first Pokemon and his only Pokemon, in Graveler. The Pokemon comes out with a thud, beating its chest a small bit before sticking a thumb up towards Brock. The man asks Graveler to give it all he's got, as Ash prepares himself, calling out Litten. The small Pokemon bursts onto the battlefield, doing a front flip and landing on its hind legs, posing a little bit before dropping back to all four. Ash chuckles ever so slightly as Brock watches, a little confused but interested. He tells Ash that the boy can have the first move, and without wasting a breath, Ash thanks Brock and calls for a fake out, followed by a growl. The Pokemon jumps side to side as it pounces forwards, slapping its hands together, causing Graveler to flinch up, allowing it to use a small growl, weakening Graveler before Brock calls out for a brick break. As Graveler's hand begins to glow, it smashes its hand straight into Litten's back, slamming it into the ground. Litten is hurt, but the growl softened the blow a small amount. Litten manages to lift itself up as Ash calls for an ember. The cat nods as it jumps upwards, jumping off Graveler's head and then jumping back, performing a backflip while airborne. The cat, once getting some height, fires off an ember attack towards Graveler. This does very little and leaves Litten still spinning in the air. Brock uses this chance to call for a rock throw, as Graveler rips up a bit of the ground around it and goes to throw it at Litten. However, is having a difficult time getting a good lock on the cat. After all, it's still spinning in the air, causing the Pokemon to hesitate before throwing it, something which Ash notices. Seeing an opportunity to make a quick change, Ash recalls Litten and brings out Beedrill. The Pokemon comes out fast, scanning the environment around it. Seeing Graveler holding a giant rock, It actually finds itself being frightened quite a bit, but a quick command from Ash snaps out as Ash calls for an Exeter. The Pokemon moves, holding back its fear, with the bug type coming straight towards Graveler, allowing the rock Pokemon to have a clean shot at Beedrill. Seeing its opportunity, Brock calls for it to throw the rock straight towards it. Ash, seeing this, however, calls for Beedrill to cut through the rock with the Exeter. The bug type does so, splitting the rock into 4 separate pieces, shocking Brock at Beedrill's pure physical strength. Ash, wanting to continue his assault, calls for Beedrill to fly in close and use Rock Smash, the move the Pokemon had recently just learned. Pokemon, quickly agreeing, nods its head as its stinger glows with a bright brown energy as it slams its stinger straight into Graveler's head, staggering it backwards and causing a crack to appear on Graveler's head. Ash, seeing this, praises Beedrill, causing the Pokemon to nod its head and take its eyes off the battle for a second. Meanwhile, Brock realises Ash is no normal trainer. Both his Pokemon have a massive weakness to rock, and he's managed to avoid them getting hurt badly at all. So, he realises he needs to get serious, and this helps Brock get pumped up. He calls for Graveler to use a Rock Polish as the Pokemon shines for a second, before Brock barks out another order of Rock Throw. Graveler moves a lot faster, and soon fires off an attack towards Beedrill, but was able to respond fast enough and is hit by the boulder that was thrown hard. This does a lot of damage to Beedrill, and soon fear starts to sink in. Ash can see that the bug type is starting to panic slightly. He shouts out trying to calm down the bug, however Brock capitalises on this moment, calling for his Graveler to use Brick Break. The Pokemon's fast to respond and moves towards Beedrill as fast as its legs will carry it. Ash sees the attack coming and calls for Beedrill to use a Rock Smash to counter the Brick Break. However, the Pokemon is still panicked and is unable to completely follow the orders thrown at it, as it throws its stinger infused with the attack towards Graveler, completely missing the arm but not Graveler. The two Pokemon trade blows in this moment, Graveler having been hit once again with a Rock Smash, while Beedrill is hit directly on the head by the Brick Break. However, it's clear that Graveler took more damage from this Rock Smash than the last one. Both Pokemon are still standing, however Ash can see that Beedrill now is completely freaking out as the Pokemon starts flying around a bit frantically. So, deciding to get his partner out of there, he calls it back and throws out Litten's Pokeball, who rejoins the battle. Ash calls for their normal combination of Fake Out and Growl, and the cat does so successfully, pulling off the moves once again, weakening Graveler, but instantly afterwards, Brock calls for a smackdown, as Graveler forms a rock in between its palms and fires it straight into Litten's belly, who goes flying backwards because of the hit. The cat is hurt badly from this attack, and Ash calls out for his partner Pokemon, who weakly pulls itself up. Ash knows at this point Beedrill won't be able to fight, it's too frightened, whereas Litten is running out of steam, so he needs to try and end this as fast as he can. So he calls for Litten to use a Scratch, as the cat Pokemon weakly pounces forwards, doing a quick spin and scratching across Graveler's body once again, but before Litten can touch the ground, Graveler hits Litten with another Brick Break, sending the small cat Pokemon skidding across the battlefield, now very clearly on its last legs, as a bright red glow starts to emit from Litten. Ash, knowing this to be Blaze, has an idea, so he calls for an Ember from Litten. The cat responds by firing off a powerful mouth blast, which flies straight towards Graveler, who is now showing signs of not only fatigue, but also battle damage. Brock, seeing that Graveler won't be able to get out of the way, calls for his Pokemon to take the attack head on, which the Pokemon happily obliges to. As the attack hits, it does some serious damage. Brock goes to counter-attack, but looks around and can't see Litten anywhere. Scanning the room, he can't find the cat at all. As Ash calls for a final scratch, the gym leader looks up to see Litten falling straight towards him. Extending its claws longer than it ever had before, it slashes deep down into Graveler's rocky body, finally touching the ground and landing in a superhero pose. As Graveler falls, Litten lets out a slight chuckle before going to fall, but getting caught by Ash. Having won the battle, Ash begins to celebrate with Litten. Brock recalls his Graveler, praising it before turning his attention towards Ash, telling the boy he did an amazing job. Ash smiles brightly as Brock approaches, telling Ash that both of his Pokemon performed amazingly and he should be super proud. And to say that Ash is still a new trainer, the boy is going to go very far. Handing him a boulder badge, Ash lets out a cheer, thanking Brock for the great battle. Having collected his badge, Ash gets ready to leave and is about to start heading towards the Pokemon Center when Brock offers to check out Ash's Pokemon for him. Ash is confused, but Brock tells the boy that he's actually an inspiring breeder, so when it comes to Pokemon care, he actually knows quite a bit. Hearing this, Ash doesn't want to turn down this interesting offer, so he calls out both of his Pokemon pretty fast. As Ash starts to scan over the team and give any medical treatment he can think of, while Ash and himself talk to one another, getting to know each other quite well during this time, with the pair continuing to talk long after Brock had finished giving any medical treatment. As 2 hours pass by fast, Brock and Ash learn of one another's dreams, backstory a little bit, and just get to know one another, and Ash can't help but feel sorry for Brock, who may never get to become a breeder thanks to the fact he has no one to look after his siblings, now being stuck here at the Pewter City gym. And he's not sure how it's fair, but he wants to help. He isn't sure what to do or think of any suggestions, and while he's lost in this train of thought, Brock tells Ash that he apologises, but he's only just realised the time. If he doesn't leave now to go home, he will be late to help out his siblings, so he has to leave now. Ash is a bit caught off guard, but says to Brock it's fine, and wishes the best of luck to Brock. Brock does the same to Ash, telling him that he'll go far as a trainer, as Brock guides Ash outside of the Pewter City gym before closing the doors. Ash now outside feels bad for Brock, wishing he could help out, however for now he can't do anything. But maybe if Kukui becomes champion, he can help out Brock in some way, but he's not sure how he can do that. For now, he decides to head off to the Pokemon Center to get himself some grub. After arriving at the Pokemon Center and searching around for a little bit, he's unable to find Kukui. So for now, he sits down, eats his food, and stares at his first gym badge. So happy he had managed to get the first gym badge all by himself, thanks to his great team. But as he starts thinking about this, he starts thinking back to the battle, recalling the events which went down. He realises some things about his team. He realises that Beedrill might actually have a fear of stronger opponents, or Pokemon with a type advantage over him. He's not really sure which, and he's not really sure why, but if this is the case, he needs to work with Beedrill to get over this, as it could cause issues in the future. And as for Litten, he found something interesting today. Its flashy style of battle, it threw Brock and his team off, wondering if he's wrong, and maybe Litten has got an interesting battle style which would work for him. For now, he has no idea on how to do this, but today opened his eyes a little bit, and maybe the way Litten fights might have some benefits. However, before Ash can dive any deeper into these thoughts, he sees Kukui walk into the Pokemon Center, holding a bit of a sour face and looking a bit angry. However, the man's completely covered head to toe in dirt, so he calls out his mentor's name, grabbing Kukui's attention and causing him to look over and actually smile lightly, as the man asks how his student's doing. But Ash can't help but laugh, looking at Kukui's face covered in dirt. It takes the man a few seconds to realise what Ash is laughing about, before he then realises how much of a mess he is. The man laughs a little bit himself, as he goes on to explain that he finished the jobs he wanted to do relatively fast, so he decided to go off and do some training, and soon lost track of time. So here he is. We then cut back a few hours, back just as Kukui left Ash. The man heads towards the Pokemon Center, where he takes a second to clean himself up, sorting out his hair, making sure his lab coat looks nice, all of these things, before eventually he approaches one of the phones, dialing a number and allowing it to ring for a few seconds before someone answers. Kukui smiles at the sight of the woman on the other end of the call. Happily, the man asks how Professor Burnett is doing. She is excited to see Kukui, and it's visible to see, as she tells him that she's great, just wishing he had called sooner, before going off on a tangent of how she had recently made a breakthrough in her dream yard research. She speaks about it for a short while before realising that she had probably been talking for the better part of half an hour, and has now gone on too long. Apologising, Kukui tells her not to worry. He's happy to see her so enthusiastic about something and will listen to her talk about it all day. This gets a slight blush out of the woman before asking if he had managed to find the person he was looking for. He shakes his head but smiles while doing so, saying that he might have not found the person he was searching for, but he found his son. Burnett, hearing this, smiles, asking what the boy's like. And Kukui immediately smiles, saying how he's a bit slow, but he's brilliant. He's such a funny kid, he's such a nice person, and looks exactly like his father did when he last met. However, he can tell that the boy has the makings of a great Pokemon trainer, and will be a worthy rival when he's a bit older. And right now is even taking on his first gym battle, which he's pretty confident he can win. The woman just smiles at the man as he rants on about this kid for a few seconds, before she tells him that she's happy he has found a student and someone he gets along with so well, and she hopes he finds who he's looking for. The two talk for a few more minutes before Burnett is called away by her partner Fennel. Burnett looks a bit awkward, wanting to leave clearly, as Kukui encourages her to do so, telling her to go off and help her partner and continue to do the great work that she's been doing. She thanks him for being so amazing before she goes to hang up, telling him to call sooner as it's been a while since they've last spoke. He apologises but reminds her that he's actually been really busy with his training. She scolds him a little bit before they both go to hang up, which is when Burnett remembers something, quickly shouting to get Kukui's attention, stopping the man from hanging up. Burnett then goes on to explain how she got a call from Holler the other day, and things seemed quite urgent, so she recommends he calls him back as soon as possible. Kukui, hearing this, thanks Burnett, promising to come visit her the moment he becomes champion. The woman says it's a date before hanging up. After finishing the call, the man makes a quick call to Haller, wondering why he wants to hear from him so urgently. So after dialing in the right number, Kukui is greeted by the big happy giant Hala. The two smile at one another and share pleasantries before Kukui asks why Hala wanted him to call. The man goes from his normal happy-go-lucky demeanour to a serious old man within seconds. As Hala tells Kukui that they are actually having some problems back in Alola, Kukui's face hearing this drops a little bit, asking if it's who he thinks it is. Hala reluctantly nods his head, as Kukui looks sadder than before. As Hala apologises for bringing this bad news, but ever since he left for his journey, it's clear that he has got more comfortable. Over time, things started to escalate. When he first left, it was small petty crimes and just being general nuisances, but now it's gone up to a complete new level. They're committing actual crimes, preventing people from completing trials or even battling the island kahunas. Kukui looks sad to hear this, as Hala tells the man not to worry too much. He, the other island captains and other kahunas are starting to deal with it a bit more seriously, so he's hoping that this countermeasure will hopefully bring down the crime rate of this group. But for now, he actually wanted to warn Kukui of a rumour he's heard. Kukui, hearing this, asks what Hala means, as Hala goes on to explain how he's heard rumours amongst the lower ranked grunts that someone has been sent over to the Kanto region to scout out the region. Of course, Hala isn't sure if it's true, but he wanted to warn Kukui to keep an eye out for anything suspicious, as he believes their old friend is trying to cause problems for Kukui and his new possible championship title. Kukui, hearing this, asks if Hala needs him to return to try and speak some sense into the man. However, Hala doesn't believe this would help, telling Kukui that he thinks that would make things worse, so for now he believes that Kukui should continue his adventure through the Kanto region and should continue to strive to become the champion. After all, Hala knows he can do it. He's trained the boy since he was little, and he knows he'll be a great champion once he rises to the title. This gets a small chuckle out of Kukui, thanking his mentor. Hala, trying to end it on a much higher note, tells Kukui that once he's champion, he should return home for a short bit, have some rest, and see the people who had supported him all his way through his journey. Kukui nods his head, saying how he might bring a +1, getting Hala to lift an eyebrow, as Kukui goes on to explain how he has recently acquired a student, and the boy is incredible, and would love Alola. Hala, hearing this, laughs a little bit, but tells him he's welcome here anytime. They bid their farewells, and then the screen goes off. Kukui's left staring at his own reflection, seeing the anger and sadness in his eyes, but he can't help it. After everything his old friend is doing, he doesn't understand whatever happened between them, but for now, he understands that he can't go back home. He needs to stay here and make sure that he gets everything dealt with. And he needs to become the champion like he'd always wanted to. He won't let him get in the way of his dreams, even if he always wanted him to be a part of them. Having collected his thoughts, Kukui decides to go blow off some steam, heading out to a nearby forest where he and his team train intensely, helping Kukui forget temporarily the problems happening back in his own region. We soon reconvene with Ash and Kukui back in the Pokemon Center, as Kukui, still messied from his training session, asks how the gym battle went. As Ash shows off his boulder badge, Kukui praises Ash, telling him he knew he could do it, scruffing the boy's hair a bit, asking for all the details on the battle. The pair spend the next few hours talking about Ash's intense first gym battle, but Ash also shares his concerns of Beedrill's fear and also Litton's unique fighting style, two things that get Kukui to smile, as the boy's clearly taking note of his Pokemon and is more concerned about them than anything else. After what feels like hours of talking, the pair eventually call it a night, having decided that the next gym Ash will take on will be the Cerulean City gym. But for now, that's where we're leaving this part. Sorry I went on for a while. I was just really enjoying writing for this script, and I'm hoping people are enjoying the story I'm putting out. That all being said, I don't really know what to put at the end of these things ever, so I'm just going to say I hope you all have a great day or a good night, and I'm really sorry for the hiatus I took. I had a lot of things going on, and I didn't have much personal time to do stuff like editing, or voice work, or script writing, so I hope people understand. I hope you all have a great day and a good night, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again, Pickledale, for helping me write out this script.